Hooray for Wodney Wat by Helen Lester. Poor Wodney Wat. His real name was Rodney Rat, but he couldn't pronounce his R's. And to make matters worse, he was a rodent. A wodent. "What's your name, Wodney?" asked the other rodents. "Wodney Wat," whispered Wodney. "What's another name for bunny?" they asked knowingly. "Wabbit," he mumbled. "And how does a train travel?" And they winked at each other. "A twain travels on twain tracks," Wodney replied miserably. All of this teasing, day in and day out, made Wodney the shyest rodent in his elementary school. His squeak could barely be heard in class, and he gnawed his lunch alone. And while the other rodents scurried and scooted about at recess, Wodney hid inside his jacket. Then one day, as all the rodents were taking turns doing wheelies, a new rodent, a very large rodent, barged into the classroom and announced, "My name is Camila Capybara. I am bigger than any of you, and I'm meaner than any of you, and I'm smarter than any of you." And then she added, "So there." And with that, she accidentally, on purpose, elbowed an ear, bumped two noses, stepped on three tails, and lay down on a desk. Fur prickled in fear through the classroom. She sure was bigger than any of them. She sure looked meaner than any of them. Was she smarter than any of them? "What's 2 plus 2? Asked Miss Fizzleworth. "4, shouted Camila Capybara without even bothering to raise her paw. "And furthermore, 4 plus 4 is 8, and 8 plus 8 is 16, and 243 plus 125 is 368. And then later, when Mrs. Fuzzleworth asked, "What is the capital?" Camila interrupted, "New York, Albany, population 295,594. And then during science, in answer to a question, "What part of a plant is below the ground?" Camila Capybara danced on her desk and sang, "Root, root, rooty toot toot." Yup, thought all the other rodents. She's smarter than we are, too. And they felt very, very uncomfortable. Every afternoon, just before the final recess, Mrs. Fuzzleworth drew a name from her hat to see who would be the leader for their favorite game, Simon Says. She scrunched her eyes and she jiggled the hat. Would it be Harry, hamster? Minifeet, mouse? Grizzle Fizz, guinea pig? Could it be big, mean, smart Camila Capybara? Mrs. Fuzzleworth's paw reached in and then she pulled out the name of Wodney Wat. The bell rang, there was a wild scurry for the door, and Camila Capybara was the first one on the playground, having trampled all the others in the path. To Wodney, she looked especially scary. What would she do when she heard him speak? Breathe capybara breath in his face? Or tie him up with his own tail? Or even pounce on him? The tiny, trembling leader of the game stood before the eager players with his head well inside his jacket, and he squeaked, "Wodney says, weed the sign," while the other rodents read, "P.S. 142 Elementary School for Rodents." Camilla began pulling weeds around the sign and wildly flinging them hither and yon until she was clear up to her teeth in dirt. The other rodents began to smile. "Wodney says, wrap your paws around your head." And then he peeked, a little peek out of his jacket, and he saw, "Whap, whap, whap, whappity slap, whap." Camilla was whapping her paws around her head so hard she became dizzy. She gave herself a headache. She had to sit down, and the rodents couldn't help giggling. "Wodney says wing around a rosy." And Camilla put her arms out like wings, and she made an airplane noise. But where was the wosy? What was a wosy? By now, Wodney's voice was stronger, and his head was entirely out of his jacket. "Wake the leaves!" Nobody moved. "Wodney says, wake the leaves." And while Harry and Minnie Feet and Grizzle Fizz and all the others busied themselves raking, Camellia grabbed one leaf. "Wake up!" she shouted at the leaf. Then she snatched another leaf. "Come on, you! Up, up, up!" And another. "Rise and shine, leaf!" And then another. Boo! By now, all the other rodents were squealing with laughter. All but Camellia, who frowned. "Stupid leaves! They won't wake up!" And why was everyone laughing at her? Such bullies! In a voice so strong that he had to hold his own ears, Wodney calls, "Wodney says, go west!" And the rodents collapsed in a happy heap for a rest. Go west. Camilla Capybara, feeling very smart that she could tell directions by the sun, said, "All right, I shall go west." And then she added, "So there." And west she stomped, forever. She was gone. And from that day on, all the pupils of PS 142 Elementary School for Rodents never teased Wodney again. He was their hero. "Hooray for Wodney Wat!" they cried. "Woot, woot, wooty toot toot!" And that's the end of our story and our great tale of our hero, Wodney Wat.